You ever hear that phrase, patience is the best revenge? Yeah, I learned that the hard way when my island became a playground for an arrogant WA that thought they could do whatever they wanted. The island. My name's Tom Bennett, retired civil engineer and lifelong fisherman. I bought a small, wooded island in Blue Harbor Lake almost 25 years ago. Back then, it wasn't much, just 8 acres of trees, a rocky shoreline, and the sweetest fishing spot in the state. The deed was clean, surveyed, and recorded. I built a little dock, a cabin, and even got a legal access permit from the county for a small boat launch. That island was my getaway from everything. Until the Clearwater Shores WA showed up. The WA expansion. Around 2015, a real estate developer bought up most of the mainland surrounding the lake. They built a bunch of high-end vacation homes, those cookie-cutter, fake luxury places with rustic, wooden signs and private golf carts. And of course, the developer handed the neighborhood over to an HOA. Their president, a woman named Janice Parker, though most of us called her Queen Karen. She wore her power like a badge, clipboard always in hand, sunglasses always on, barking orders at landscapers and threatening homeowners who left trash cans out an hour late. The HOA's marketing was all about exclusive lakeside living. And apparently, that meant my island, which they started calling Community Lake Property in their glossy brochures. That was my first red flag. The Community Island idea. One weekend, I saw boats from Clearwater Shores circling the island. Then, a few days later, I noticed survey stakes, bright orange markers, hammered into the soil near my dock. When I confronted the men doing the surveying, one of them shrugged. We were told it's for a community cabin project. WA says they own it. I almost laughed. You're standing on private property. I own this island. They looked confused and called their supervisor, who passed the buck up to the WA Property Committee. 2 days later, I got an email from Janice herself. Dear Mr. Bennett, we're developing the island adjacent to Clearwater Shores into a community recreation area, complete with rental cabins and docks. According to our maps, this land falls within the WA jurisdiction. We'll handle the development, maintenance, and access. You're welcome to be a guest once construction is complete. Regards, Janice Parker, Clearwater Shores WA President. I laughed so hard I nearly fell out of my chair. I replied simply, you're mistaken. I own the island. I suggest you confirm with the county land office before you start building. Her response, our lawyers have reviewed it. The lake and surrounding properties fall under the Clearwater Shores jurisdiction. Please refrain from interfering. Jurisdiction, not ownership. That word told me everything. The construction begins. By the next summer, barges started hauling construction materials across the water. I watched, dumbfounded, as they cleared trees, leveled soil, and poured concrete. They built 32 identical cabins, lined up like hotel rooms around the island's perimeter. They added docks, picnic tables, and even a stupid wooden sign that read, Clearwater Island Resort, private WA access only. I called the sheriff's department, but the deputy told me it was a civil issue. The county clerk, they told me property disputes had to go through the court. So, I did the one thing the WA didn't expect, I stayed quiet. The waiting game. For 2 years, I said nothing. I didn't call lawyers. I didn't post anything online. I didn't even visit the island, publicly, anyway. But I watched. I collected drone footage, photos, and county tax records. See, the WA had built those cabins without ever checking the land deed. They pulled building permits under Parcel 117A, which was the HOA's lakeshore property. But my island, that was Parcel 117B, clearly recorded under my name, taxes paid in full since 1999. And because the WA used their own funds, member dues, to build everything, they effectively improved my property with their money. Every board meeting they streamed online was public record. I downloaded them all. Janice bragged about how they'd finally turned that useless patch of land into a community gold mine. Oh, it was going to be gold, all right. Just not for them. The first hint of trouble. The first cracks appeared when the HOA started renting the cabins out on short-term rental sites. Families were showing up from out of state, paying $400 a night to stay on a private HOA island. That's when insurance got involved. The company covering Clearwater Shores realized the cabins weren't technically on insured property because they weren't owned by the HOA. They suspended coverage until ownership could be proven. That's when Janice panicked and hired a lawyer to confirm title. It took them 3 months before they realized the nightmare they'd walked into. The legal strike. When their lawyer finally contacted me, he sounded nervous. Mr. Bennett, we'd like to discuss an amicable resolution regarding the Clearwater Island development. I played dumb. Resolution. For what? Well, technically, it seems your name appears on the deed for that property. But since the HOA developed it, we'd like to propose a buyout. A buyout. They offered me $150,000 for the island. I told them, no thanks. I'll let the court decide its value. And that's when I filed my lawsuit. The case. Bennett vs. Clearwater Shores HOA. My attorney, a sharp old friend named Rick Holloway, nearly jumped with excitement when I showed him the documents. Tom, they built 32 structures on your land without consent. You legally own every single one of them. We filed for trespass, unjust enrichment, property damage, illegal construction without owner consent. In simple terms, they built an entire resort on my property, and I now legally owned it. The HOA's defense. Janice strutted into court like she owned the place. Their lawyer argued that the island was within HOA jurisdiction, part of the lake easement zone. But the judge didn't buy it for a second. He looked straight at the deed, then at Janice. Mrs. Parker, this land has been under Mr. Bennett's name for 25 years. HOA jurisdiction doesn't equal ownership. You built private structures on land that doesn't belong to you. Janice sputtered, but it's community property. The judge leaned back. Not unless your community bought it. Did you buy it, Mrs. Parker? She turned red. The judge's ruling was clear. All improvements made on the plaintiff's property become the legal property of the plaintiff. The HOA and its board are liable for damages and trespassing. The courtroom was silent except for Janice's horrified gasp. Aftermath. My new resort. The HOA was forced to pay $1.2 million in damages, mostly to cover back rent, environmental restoration, and legal fees. They tried to appeal, lost again. By the end of it, I legally owned 32 fully furnished cabins, a dock system, and several boats. I could have sold them, but instead, I turned the entire place into Bennett Island Lodge, an eco-friendly fishing retreat. Funny thing, a bunch of former HOA residents, fed up with Janice's leadership, booked stays there. They told me she'd resigned after being voted out. Apparently, members were furious their dues had been used to build on private property. Janice's downfall. Months later, I got a letter, handwritten, from Janice herself. Mr. Bennett, I hope you're happy. You've ruined me. I only wanted to make the community better. The lawyers say I could lose my house because of the lawsuit. I never meant for it to go this far. I never responded. Because here's the thing. She did mean for it to go that far. She ignored warnings, built on land that wasn't hers, and treated me like an obstacle. Now, she was learning what happens when arrogance meets ownership records. The sweetest ending. Today, Bennett Island Lodge runs year-round. I hire local high school kids in the summer and give free stays to veterans and first responders in the fall. And that wooden sign they left behind. I kept it. It hangs above my office door. Private HOA access only. Only now, I added one more line underneath, burned into the wood with a soldering iron. Property of Tom Bennett. Epilogue. Lessons learned. If there's one thing this taught me, it's that paperwork beats power every time. The HOA thought they could bully their way through property lines because they had money and lawyers. But a single old deed with my name on it was worth more than all their rules and regulations combined. You don't need to shout, fight, or argue when someone oversteps. Sometimes, you just have to wait. Because time exposes arrogance, and the law protects patience.